Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Great to be with you. Today's show, for the purposes of the rules, is recorded a little bit earlier in the day. My son has a procedure right when my show is starting. It's a medical procedure. Nothing terrible. I don't want anybody to be wringing their hands or anything like that. But he does have to have a minor surgery today, and I'm planning to be there with him. So Tom and I had to record this morning, plus Tom's going out of town. That's what's going on. But we wanted fresh content for the show here on 93.3, as well as Warchant TV and the pods and all that good stuff. So there's plenty to get into, and it really won't affect the fact that we're not on right at 1, but instead did the show a little bit earlier. But we wanted to get that out there just so you know that. It may end up acting as a Seminole Headlines curse that you guys are well aware of. Typically, in the past, when we used to record Seminole Headlines, instead of do it live, we would do the show, and then invariably some sort of big news would break and instantly date the show. That may be the case today with the Jeff Cameron Show, because there is a thought that we're going to hear something from Jared Verse maybe today, maybe not. Don't know, but it is expected to come this week. So at this point, we're kind of just wait and see. Hopefully it's good news. The vibe, I can tell you, around the program, and I've been pretty spot on with these things so far. I mentioned I thought we'd get 2 of the 3 back. We got one of them back in Fabian Lovett. I'm not surprised that Jamie Robinson went pro. Truthfully, Jamie needed to go pro. I don't think there was anything he could have done to improve his stock whatsoever. He had already shown what he was going to show on tape. He wasn't going to get any bigger than he is. He wasn't going to get any faster than he is. He had a good season, so it's not like he's coming off a bad year. He needed to take it to the pros, and I wish him nothing but the best. For Jared Verse, it's an interesting question. We'll bring Tom in here in a second. But for Jared Verse, it's interesting because I've talked to some people close to the program. I've talked to some people that have had discussions, I think, that would be in the know. And he's getting an interesting feedback from the league. When you look at projected drafts, mock drafts, and there are hundreds, and if you want to dive into those mock drafts, and I'll tell you something right now, that's a niche thing that works. I do dive into those things. I love the draft. It's not unlike other people's side passions. You may love Formula One. You may love golf. I love golf. And I look at every tournament, and I look at the strength of every tournament field, and I gamble on golf. So I dive well into the deep end of every tournament, even if it's an insignificant tournament. Well, I love the draft, and a lot of people love the draft, and they love analysis surrounding the draft. My point is, if you took a look at 20 mocks, and I probably have at this point, you'd see Jared Verse projected, and I'll say this, Tom, I saw Jared Verse projected in one draft as high as 11. Now, if Jared Verse was going to go 11th, he needs to take it to the league. There's no reason whatsoever to come back if you're going to go in the top 15, if you're going to go in the first round. If you're going to go in the first round, there is no reason, in my opinion, to come back. Whether that's 29th because you think you can be a top 10 pick, okay, man, look, go take your millions. You're going to be a first-round pick. But the more common analysis of Jared Verse by a lot of people around the league seems to be that he is a very late first, if at all, and more likely a mid to late second. And some of that might not have to do with the projected talent of Jared Verse, but rather how many really good defensive ends there are in this upcoming draft and where he would slot. Remember, Jared doesn't have a ton of experience playing big-time college football. It's just this year. I mean, he played at Albany the year before. You can throw out all that tape, save for the game against Syracuse that he had that year. That's a worthless tape for the NFL. They're not even looking at anything he did at Albany. So they're primarily looking at this year. And if you look at this year, you see all the tools. You see the strength. You see the speed off the edge. He doesn't have a wide variety of moves to the quarterback, but he's not defenseless either. He's got enough tools in the arsenal to be effective most games. He had a couple of games against good offensive tackles where he was stymied greatly. That won't play well. But he's had a lot of good games too. And so I think people would see the tools and they'd say, man, I just need to see a little bit more. I just need him to have more consistent play. Remember, he played a lot of this season banged up we didn't see the best version of Jared Verse. Jared Verse had several injuries to his lower body. It's hard to have that great get off, as they say, when you're dealing with a knee or an ankle or a foot. He had a lot of problems with his legs this year. So I think the best is ahead for Jared Verse. And what he would have to hope for to become a first rounder is that they saw the burst and the strength and understood that he played a lot with a lower body injury, and that if you project, you're getting a young guy whose star is on the rise, not a guy that is maxed out because he's played 3 years of highly competitive football. That's what you would have to hope. The worst case scenario is that there are 5 guys with bona fide tape, 6 guys with bona fide tape at the highest level or Power 5 competition that are slotted ahead of him with a lot more reps to secure confidence in whoever the GM is taking a look at that, making that pick, coaches, GM, talent scout, whatever it might be. And if that were to happen and those guys all went ahead of Jared Verse, worst case scenario, he could fall to early third, very late second. And if that is the case, there's an argument to be made that with NIL and tremendous upside in work ethic, of which he has, that he could make himself a lot more money by coming back and putting a good, solid year on film. Remember, he's going to get paid if he comes back here a pretty sizable sum of money. I mean, the collective right now, Battle's End, has shown they're not afraid. So they're going to give that guy a lot of money. I don't know what you guys all want to know what that is. I don't know what that looks like. I have an idea, and it's in the hundreds of thousands, okay? If you're going to school for free and you are eating for free, and do not forget he already has an NIL deal with a local car dealership, so his ride is free. He has no car payments. He doesn't pay for food. He doesn't pay for lodging, and he's going to have money. It's not a bad option, right, guys? Can you imagine any of us in college if somebody said, here's $300,000, and oh, by the way, you'll never pay for food. You won't have to pay for where you live, and you don't have to pay for a car. Yeah, man, I think we could have done all right. In fact, I would have loved to have seen how that turned out. Probably not good for me if left to my own devices, but good times, right? So he's not going to be longing. He values education. His parents value education. He's a smart kid. He's on track to graduate early. So there are a lot of viable reasons why Jared Verse would say yes. And maybe at the time that you're listening to this, he already has. Tom, anything to add to that? I think I laid it out pretty bare there as to the reasons we might hear the good news about Jared Verse.
Yeah, well, I'd say I'd just approach it as an NFL fan. And, you know, what the Buccaneers, my team, will need this offseason is a lot of things. Short of a miraculous decision of Tom Brady to come back to the same situation. Tampa's going to be starting over in a lot of different places, and Warchant is one of those places where I wouldn't hate if their first-round pick went. I think it should go offensive line, but they need a Warchant. So I'm looking at, as an NFL fan, and what NFL franchises are looking at, if you're going to make a pick in the 20s, even that means you had a successful season the year prior, you are still risk-averse. You want something that is going to be the highest percentage chance of success. You can't afford to flame out with a first-round pick. In the end, the best you can hope for in the first round is a coin flip, maybe 60% of a hit rate. We did a study on that years and years ago with our staff with the JCS. But you don't want to take a 30% chance on a guy who has a half a year of tape that I can actually evaluate, some of which isn't that great, frankly speaking. And it could be for the reasons that you enumerate, which is he's raw and he wasn't 100% for much of the season. But if I am a general manager who is going to be judged upon my success as a draft,
right.
And I'm not going to take a risk with that guy unless I am replete with top 50 picks. You know, if we've seen the situations with the Jets and the Giants in recent years, but the Patriots years ago, there are teams every draft that have a ton of picks because they bent somebody over on the trade market before. Seattle is going to be that team this year because of the Russell Wilson trade. Seattle's picking top 5 with Denver's pick. It's a beautiful thing for them. So if you're in that type of situation, you could take a risk. The 25th pick doesn't really mean 25 if you've got 4 picks in the top 50 or 60. But if I'm a team or a fan of a team with one shot at the first round, I'm sorry. I haven't seen enough of Jared Verse to warrant that pick, and me on draft day as a fan saying, yeah, I like where this one's going to go. Too much risk. Too much risk.
Well, it's a good point. GMs like to be employed; they're paid handsomely, but they also command a very volatile position, right? They own a job that a lot of people would like to have until they have the job and realize that it's pretty precarious. Because the best GMs fail often in the draft with several picks because it is a coin flip in a lot of ways. Now, they are risk averse, as you're correct to point out, and it's about percentages. Did you make the right choice based on the information you had with the least amount of volatility in the selection? And if you did and it doesn't work out, do you have a viable fallback? Hey, that's who we had to take. You understand the math here. A lot of GMs will get a pass if you take the quarterback that your owner wanted and that the fan base wanted and that whose film was flawless in college. Even if that GM is looking at that player going, guys, I have my doubts. I don't like what I see. You guys do, but I don't. And I know he was on a winning team, and I know he was a Heisman candidate, and I know he put up numbers in college, but there's this, and this that I don't like, and I would rather go somewhere else. Even if they feel that way, they can be easily swayed by the powers that be that know, all right, if I make that pick, you all wanted that pick. You all thought he was a sure thing. You can't fire me for doing that. I took the guy that percentages said were right, even though I had my doubts. Well, that's not Jared Verse. I mean, Jared Verse is by definition a volatile pick at this point. You could argue if you were a GM in the room, guys, he has the best upside of any of these ends. Is he the most accomplished? No. Does he have the tape in abundance that you want to see to calm your nerves? No, he doesn't. He has some moments, he has some plays, and a couple of games that tell me he has the highest upside of any of these ends. That ain't going to work on draft day if you're trying to make a first-round pick. That's not the argument, unless, like you said, you're a team with 3 first-round picks in 2 seconds or something like that.
I'd make it real simple for him, too. Like, again, if you're guaranteed that you could be a top 50 pick and that's the number that you need to hit, then go. Like, I would be an advocate and I could play the role of whatever side I need to here about the advisory teams. But if you want to make a simple comp, Jermaine Johnson, last year, going into the draft, we all knew he was a stud in terms of what he did in college, in terms of the measurables, the size, the ability, the variety of what he could do, the motor, the care, the culture, all those things.
The body.
Check. He went 26th, and is Jared Verse anything close to Jermaine Johnson in terms of proof being in the pudding? Right. The size, I mean, the culture part, sure. The motor part, yeah. But does he have the measurables the way that Jermaine had? Does he have the tape, the comprehensive nature of his one-off year tape? No, he doesn't. And honestly, if I'm being brutal in the room with Jared and you think that you can improve to a place where he could be a top 20 pick or a top 15 pick, you'd say you had a real crack at this against a really good offensive line in November. Didn't work out so well for you against Florida, did it? Are we really going to base our hopes if we believe that the first round is the cutoff point of whether we're going to go or we're going to stay, that you at the combine or workouts or wherever you go are going to do better in that situation than you did against Florida? Take the several $100,000, come back, invest in yourself. This is not like it used to be. It's not a zero-sum game with an insurance contract against an injury. Like, you're going to get paid handsomely. And guess what? You're going to be so busy over the next year that money's just going and sitting in the bank. You don't have time to spend much on anything except if you want to accessorize a car or maybe go on a vacation. Take your folks on a vacation. Other than that, the life of a student athlete, yes, a student athlete is still really busy, especially if you care about your education. So all that money is just going to get tucked away. Dude, take the money in your back pocket if you really think that you can ascend and reduce your own risk of where you're going to go in the draft. I think it's a no-brainer at that point. But there are different players whose ceiling is 3rd round or 4th round. Jamie Robinson. Jamie Robinson's not magically going to be a top 15 pick in the NFL. It's just not going to happen. No. So if he's maximized what he is, get the hell out of here. But Jared's finish to the season and also the risky nature of the lack of film, he could improve a ton and not walk away with nothing if he tried.
I think, Tom, my guess is from talking to people, he'd be a mid to late second at this point. And I think that he can play his way easily into being a first-round pick this next year. Like a bona fide, the tape is there, the proof is in the pudding. That's a first-round pick. By the way, the aforementioned Jermaine Johnson, who I love and will be forever indebted to, and I thought did everything right when he was here. He dominated on the football field. He had a great attitude. He was a tremendous leader. He did everything he needed to do in the weight room, showed people how to work on a daily basis, all the things that we talk about, right? Body type was sick. He walked onto the field, we went, that's different. Jermaine Johnson last week for the Jets had 1 tackle. Jermaine Johnson the week before against Jacksonville had his best game of the season. He had 4 tackles. The week before that, he had 4 tackles. The week before that, he had none. The week before that, he had 1. The week before that, he had 1. The week before that, he had 1. The week before that, he had 2. Jermaine Johnson has 2 sacks. Jermaine Johnson is a backup. He does not start. This is a much more surefire pick than Jared Verse, and he's a backup averaging about 2 tackles a game.
Yeah, well, again, if the first round is and let's just say you even get to a top 10 or top 15 pick, is a 60% proposition, and that's what you can hope for at most. That's a massive percentage of risk still.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about it with chances of victory and the FPI model. You could even look at election forecast models like Nate Silver does and other people do ahead of a general or a midterm election. It's like 63% chance that the House is controlled by ... 37% is a massive chance.
Yeah, it's a volatile. Yeah.
If you're a poker player, you know that all too well. You could play it right and you get destroyed. And at the moment you make a decision, even if you know all the cards, 65, 70% chance. So what's the point of that? Jermaine Johnson was a much higher risk of success or chance of success than what Jared Verse is. So again, it's that awkward position that you're put in when you're assessing somebody at the next level or professionally, that it's almost like you're knocking and saying they can't do anything. Of course he's a breakout player. Of course he's a star on Florida State next year. And of course I think he's got a really good chance to have a second contract, maybe more at the NFL level. But if you're talking about when that's proper value off a draft board, it's a fundamentally different conversation. I enjoy having it every year when we switch the college cap and we put on the pro cap. And in this case, it just so happens, I think, to benefit Florida State. And that's a win-win situation in the NIL era because the kid doesn't get screwed.
Without question. Yesterday, we did a video, myself, Gene Williams, Ira Schafel. It is going to run congruent to a story that Ira is posting. I think it's probably already out at the time that you're listening to this. So if you're listening to this now, go check warchant.com and find that story and read it. And you'll see embedded in that story the video of which I'm referencing, in which we discussed Florida State and the priority to extend the head coach, Mike Norvell, and what that might look like. When we come back, I'm going to talk about some of those parameters and talk about the position Florida State's in as they sit down with the head coach and figure out what is a reasonable contract moving forward that protects both parties. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Every great construction project, whether it's a new addition or renovation, starts with a plan. At T-Spark, we are excited when our clients contact us to assist with that plan. Through our team of architects, draftsmen, engineers, we can help you with your project's planning and design, potentially saving costs in the long run. Whether you have a residential or commercial project, we look forward to working with you. Call us today or visit us at tsparkconstruction.com. License number CGC 1525336.
This is Kyle, service manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry bucks to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816186. We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise.
I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM.
Car accident? Call 777-7777 for Basic Brooks.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at talgov.com.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did. Happy holidays.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com. My friends at Orange Theory put it on me yesterday, guys. I'm not doing the new year, new me thing. All the foibles I still have, I carried them with me into 2023. But I am telling you that a lot of people, obviously as we get a fresh start, think to themselves, what can I do to better myself on a daily basis? And whether that is because it's a New Year's resolution or just an effort to be better or at your best or to have more energy or to be at the right weight for you, whatever it might be, I would tell you that a nice option, and this is whether it's a resolution or just an effort to get better, would be Orange Theory Fitness. And yesterday we did some sustained base pace, followed by push pace, followed by 1 minute all out, followed by back to base pace, followed by get your ass over to the rower. And I'm a little sore. Tom, as I'm sitting here today, but I'll let everybody know. Orange Theory Fitness, 2 locations. Coaches, thorough, they care, they teach, you'll be better, you'll get better on a daily basis. And it's not as intimidating as you think. Members aren't really worried about what kind of pace you're running, how fast you row, how much weight you lift on the floor. They're trying to keep themselves together for an hour so they can get out the door and get on with their day better than when they came in. They're not worried about how much faster or slower you are than them. Go give it a try. First workout's free. Midtown location, Northside location, Orange Theory Fitness. So yesterday's show, or yesterday's video that I alluded to before the commercial break, for those listening on 93.3, was that we know Florida State is going to have to, and I say going to have to, wants to extend Mike Norvell after this campaign. And if you think about the evidence here, this is a fun conversation just like the last one was. The evidence is overwhelming that Mike Norvell is the real deal. Like, you don't have to waver on that. Now, if you want to get into the weeds and nuanced arguments of, is he a national championship coach? Nobody is until they are. So projecting who's going to be the next one, we did this with Jimbo Fisher. I had a daily argument because I was a big proponent of Jimbo Fisher and got out in front of it before his name was even listed as an OC candidate here and wanted him here. People forget that as OC under Nick Saban with LSU, Jimbo Fisher, yes, won a national championship, but he also cobbled together at that time with the way that offenses looked and the guiding principles of offensive football, the number one offense in the SEC. Now, if you go back and look at those numbers by way of comparison to today's numbers, they won't blow you away. But at that time, especially in that conference, which was a run-heavy conference, Jimbo Fisher had struck the balance and won a national championship, put together great offenses. I wanted him. He came. There were connections here. And we all argued about whether or not he'd win a national championship. Well, he did. And then we all know what happened. All right. So you take the good with the bad. I don't know if Mike Norvell is a national championship coach, but I do know that Mike Norvell inherited a nightmare. And I mean a nightmare. Because the next guy that come along, who I was wrong about, but was also a proponent for, based on recruiting acumen, or what I thought would be recruiting success. Turned out I was wrong on all fronts. Willie Taggart turned out to be a fraud. The behind-the-scenes stuff was worse than the on-the-field stuff, and the on-the-field stuff wasn't good. But given that tenure ended in disaster, and that at the point that Mike Norvell came in, he was then the third new coach in 4 years. And given that upon his arrival, he was introduced by, good to be here, here's some COVID. So you had a stretch of, I can't talk to coaches and I have no affiliation with people in this state. I can't talk to players or bring them here. I have no relationship basis by which to build this program that is in shambles, financially strapped, emotionally vacant. You had a disaster on your hands. Nobody was coming to games. And then you had all of the stuff outside the field of play that was obviously out of his control when I'm talking about a pandemic. So Mike had to trust himself, put together a staff, and believe in the face of overwhelming adversity and horrific results on the football field, some of which happens in a rebuild, some of which were his fault. He doesn't go completely without blame. Jacksonville State game comes to mind. But he stayed the course because he believed in what he professed. He believed in the way to turn this around was thoroughly through an investment in each other and hard work. And he believed that if you stayed true to that, and if the messaging across the coaching staff stayed true to that, kids would come around and know that you were not a fraud and that this was going to have very real, tangible benefits. If you marry that with some good fortune this time around on the back end, meaning the portal and his ability to mine the portal and assess players from other programs that were fully developed and could step in and immediately upgrade their status for the next level and improve the field on the field here. Well, Mike cashed in the chips, didn't he? He won. He won 10 games this year, swept his rivals, beat Miami in a way that we're still talking about, 45-3, unless we forget, and has the program, we think, moving in the right direction. So it's exciting, and you want to invest in exciting. You want to invest when your fans believe in the product. But most importantly, you want to invest when you have tangible evidence that players are getting better, the program is on the rise, and that it's rooted in something that is real and sustainable. And Mike has done that. This is priority number 1 or 2 for the current athletic director, Mike Alford. They want to get this done. Now, I'm going to argue about how you get this done because Jimmy Sexton is going to do what Jimmy Sexton does. He's going to position his client, Mike Norvell, in a way that gets him the most amount of money, the longest term deal, and the least amount of buyout. And whenever you talk about contract, you have to talk about term, salary, and buyout. And Florida State, too, has to learn some lessons from the end of the Jimbo Fisher era, where that guy could walk and there was very little money coming back to you for his client, Jimmy's, taking the Texas A&M job. They have to protect themselves because of the disaster and the misguided, and I was part of that group, not in the official sense, attempt to bring Willie Taggart in and get this turned around and the monies that they owed him. They have to look at how do we do this so that if somebody poaches our head coach, we are going to have a king's ransom in return to pursue the next head coach. But also, how do we reward a man who we know is the right coach for the job here, and we want to pay him accordingly? Well, by pay him accordingly, what do you mean? Well, you have to look at the going rate of the best coaches in the country. And while he's not going to make Nick Saban money, and he's not going to make anywhere near, let's say, even Lane Kiffin money. Lane Kiffin makes just over $9 million a year. I would not pay Mike Norvell that. Jimmy's going to try to get that. What you do have to look at is what Florida and Miami pay their coaches. And you have to look at how competitive can you be in that market? Because in addition to beating Florida and Miami, you have to beat them for recruits. You have to beat them in the perception game. And you have to certainly pay your coach a reward for having just vanquished both those coaches thoroughly. And moving forward, you don't want used against you. Well, look at all the success Mike Norvell's had, and he's the third highest paid coach in the state. They don't invest in football at Florida State. You don't want that negative recruiting. I don't think you can do that right now with what Florida State's done with roster retention, what Florida State has in the way of that collective, and the investment. Now you have a brand new football-only facility they've broken ground on. It is fairly evident to all that Florida State is greatly invested in the future of football. All right, where are we at? Well, Mike began somewhere in the 4s. At the end of the current deal, he'd be around, I think, 6.7. You're going to rip that up. And I think you're going to add 4, and you're going to probably make it between 7.5 and 8.5. That's the guess. 7.5 and 8.5 shows you're serious. It puts him in a position to be highly competitive with any of the top-tier programs in the country and what they pay their coaches. And it certainly puts you in the neighborhood or even slightly ahead of the coaches in the state of Florida. So that's what I'm projecting. I don't know, but I would just tell you it's somewhere in the middle because you don't want to reset the market with Mike Norvell, but you do want to give him a handsome raise and one that shows you're very serious about the future of Florida State football. And if those are your guiding parameters there, that's the number that you arrive at.
Yeah, I'd say that the hard part for Florida State here, if you're just talking about winning the deal, winning the contract, is that we're still in a position of desperation to a degree, a lack of leverage. I think when it comes down to it, if Mike Norvell wanted to be petty and win the deal comprehensively, he could. Now, he doesn't strike me as that type because he sees the bigger picture. It's like anything else. You know, if you work at a company that has an owner or a CEO that gets it, they understand that, you know, you've got to invest a little bit of money to make some money. And in turn, what does that mean for Mike Norvell? Well, I don't need 100% of the disposable income. I need that income spread across a staff, a support staff, more positions in the athletic department underneath the football program to make sure that our program has a chance to succeed so I can get my next contract. If I go for broke right now, all me and nothing else, I'm going to win in the short term, but I'm not going to win in the long term. I think Mike Norvell has a vision that's like that. But the fun part is, who needs whom more? Right now, the university needs Mike Norvell more than the other way around because he has gotten to this place. And the thing about Mike that has been so impressive from day one, and this was well before there was anything impressive on the football field, was that people who were in the building over there, who were around Jimbo and Willie and now Mike, all said to a man or woman that Mike is as buttoned up, if not more buttoned up, than the original version of Jimbo Fisher, which was the one that built that thing almost by himself from the ground up because there wasn't a whole lot of infrastructure here. And that always caught my ear. I always thought, wow, that's really fascinating that here's a guy who's more organized. And it seems like he's got more balance, too, to himself. He understands the game from a university relations and a booster relations standpoint in a way that I don't think Jimbo ever did. People were hungry and they were starving, really, for football success at a level that if you just whiff Nick Saban's name at him, if you're Jimbo, they're going to spend the money. They were tired of the lost decade. They were going to spend. People were jaded when Mike got here. people were jaded, and he didn't have immediate success, and he wasn't bringing in a top 5 class or a top 10 class immediately. He had to prove it to them. And you don't just prove it to people with success on the football field like this year. You had to prove it behind the scenes. You had to go to those booster events. You had to make time for people. You had to make them feel important. So, Mike's value is not just with what he does on the field and how this thing is turned. His value is also that he understands how to run an organization, and he's proven that. And that actually was a predecessor to the on-field success. So I think that's what makes him worth more. And you're fond of saying this, and I agree, in the era of the transfer portal, NIL, and so forth, this is the era of the CEO coach more than it ever has been before. Bobby Bowden was one of the OGs as a CEO head football coach. But in this era, you kind of have to be. It's not a style that you choose. You kind of have to be. And Mike Norvell has shown from day one that he understands the big picture. In fact, I remember discussions we had where we said, this almost feels like he's running an NFL franchise more than it is a college football program.
So it's a good point to make for our fans, too, because I predict that in Mike's tenure here, provided things continue to go smoothly and the program continues to build towards being a championship-level program, at some point, Mike is going to have to do what Ryan Day just announced that he's going to be doing at Ohio State. Ryan Day calls the plays at Ohio State. Ryan Day is the guy at Ohio State, and Ryan Day has told people that he can't do that anymore, that he's really close to handing it over to somebody else already on staff on game day. Now, he'll be a part of the game plan all week long and tell everybody, obviously what we do on 1st and 10, what we do on 2nd and medium, 3rd and long, situational football. You get it. They go over all these things. This is what the playbook looks like for 3rd and 5 or less. This is what the playbook looks like for 3rd and 5 or more. This is what it looks like. Yeah. So he'll always be part of that. Ryan Day will always be part of that. But because he has all of these other duties that you're describing now, and it is true when you are now part of a hundreds of $1,000,000 business, $1 billion business, when you think of college football on the whole, you really are a CEO at this point. You have so many other responsibilities to take care of. You have to manage this thing the way the CEOs do major companies. The obligations you have are many, and many of them are off the field. And so they're all pulling at time. They're all pulling at your time. Right now, he's young enough and has enough energy. You're getting Mike Norvell on the rise. You're getting the Mike Norvell version right now that is, we would think, entering his prime. In baseball terms, you're getting the 28-year-old Manny Machado. You're getting, you know what I'm saying? You're getting that guy that has shown the proclivity to be great, and the inconsistencies are waning the more reps he gets. So Mike is really, for a coach, when you think about the age of a coach, where they have enough experience behind them and enough energy because of the current age they're at, and you see a positive future ahead of them, that's early 40s. Early to mid 40s is the sweet spot for coaches in that way. Now, there are coaches that have had great success in their late 50s, early 60s, and coaches that have had success at 35. But they're usually outliers, and or they've built something to a place where that can happen. Mike is on the rise, and I just think you have to show him the appreciation while also protecting yourself. So it's an interesting game, and you are right about all that stuff off the field, that this is a guy that has come in here and provided hope and changed the culture, both in the locker room, but also in that building, in that Moore Athletic Center. He has changed the building. People go to work, and they do so with a smile on their face. They were not doing that for the better part of the last 7 years before his arrival. That's how long they had been beaten down.
Yeah, I think the thing, and there are points to be made to knock him. So I'm not just, that what I just said before sounds like it's all rosy and state-sponsored media. No, there are things to knock him for.
Well, for his age, he's immature at times. Yeah,
but what I'd say is it's rare for somebody at that age. He's not much older than me, which is spooky. I don't like this development of
Oh, but hey, buddy, soon you'll be older than the next coach that you cover. Yes.
Yeah, that you have to call every professional athlete on television young man.
Yeah.
It's a little
As
crazy.
a talented young man.
But at his age, that his age, that he can relate very well to a player on the roster just as much as he can a booster in the stands. That's different, and that's something that you want to latch onto and hold on to, because those are very different settings, a locker room and a boardroom, and you work in both. Success helps with that, of course, but people liked him before the success got to this level. Now, the thing I'd say as words of caution, because this is what you got to do in a negotiation. It's very much like the Jared Verse discussion. You got to knock the person in order to bring him back down to earth. Are we going to have a Jacksonville State or NC State every year? Are we going to have one of those? Because they're inexplicable loss one year, the next year another inexplicable loss. So do we have to put that in pen? Because we used to call something a Jimbo special, even way back in the day. Do we have to worry about a Norvell special? Is that a thing that we've got to focus on every year? And when we do W's and L's next year, do we have to circle something like that?
I think
that would be number one. Number two would be, all right, Joker, you finally put you got a winning product on the field. Are we going to close on some high school recruits?
Well, that's a big one. And I think that's where the change in the secondary is going to help them. But I think Jimmy's, you argued a moment ago that Jimmy's kind of got Florida State over a barrel if they want to push it. And hearing your knocks, I realized just how strong the position is for Jimmy. Oh, yeah. Because the counter is, those inconsistencies will wane as we get a better roster, which we're clearly in the process of doing. And now that we're winning games and we're adding to the coaching staff. So, I mean.
Well, and the other thing is, hey, man, Jordan Travis was already here when you got here. Now, credit for developing him. But, I mean, did you really think he was going to be that? You went and got Mackenzie Milton. So did you really think he was going to be that? Or are you lucky? And what does this team do this year if Tate is the quarterback for all 12 games? I know he had a great half, and that's wonderful. But if you had a replacement level ACC quarterback here and not Jordan Travis, who is unbelievably gifted at one thing and is now adding to those gifts with more than adequate play as a passer, what are we? Are we a 5-loss team again this year? Are you one player away from us saying, so I see?
Well, and that one may be the most valid, because anytime you have a superstar at the most important position on the field, it can cloud your vision as to what's real and what's not, because that dude makes mistakes go away. And he's become a really, really, really talented and buttoned up week in, week out starter at that position, which is, again, the most important position on the field. Speaking of, let's segue from this to a real quick segment in a moment when we come back. It is the TreyShaun Ward appreciation segment. It's next on the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
What do you need tires on? Your car or truck, tractor or heavy equipment? At Nice Tire and Auto Service, we have tires for all these needs. And we service your vehicle from air conditioning and computerized alignment to oil changes and everything else under the hood. Call Nice Tire and Auto today at 574-4100. That's 574-4100 for your scheduled maintenance. National accounts welcome at Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
Jeff, look at this beautiful day, man.
Yeah, it's getting a little chilly. I like it. I'm a colder weather guy, but I worry about it for you because you can't wear the Speedo in the cold. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to wear a Speedo in the cold.
Jeff, it's always Speedo weather, man. We can always do this. Besides, my pool, it's heated.
Which means you're insufferable in a Speedo year-round?
Cannonball!
Still gross. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, Greg?
Do you know all the different ways that you can listen to Real Talk 93.3?
There are several.
So we've got realtalk93.com. You can go back and listen to all of our shows in the podcast section.
That's right. You can also listen on our app as well.
Search Real Talk 93.3 and look for the red microphone and download our app. Never go anywhere without us.
And, of course, you can always listen right on the radio.
Well, they are listening.
Are they?
If they're hearing this commercial, then they're listening.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Real short segment here. We got rather lengthy the last two, but those are meaty discussions. Before I say thank you to TreyShaun Ward, Tom Lang, addendum or add-on quickly to what we were talking about. You wanted to make a point.
Yeah, it's just very simple. It's like debate class. I'm forming an argument. Where do I believe the truth is? Somewhere in the middle. But, when you pile on with a rosy and you pile on with a negative, people take that out of context. So
they latch on to one or the other, yeah.
You guys get it. Thank you.
Yeah, you always play to the smartest people in the room, Tom. We're not worried about those dumbasses that are going to do that. Here we go. Now Next thing we say is this, and that is, thank you, TreyShaun Ward. Thought it was very interesting that Mike Norvell had a tweet last night, a lengthy one, giving thanks to TreyShaun Ward. It shows you, and also TreyShaun Ward's effort in the bowl game and the fact that he played it even though he was going to be leaving. Probably internally he knew that. And so he makes the announcement that he's going to be transferring, where hopefully he can be the guy somewhere. I don't know where that'll be, but he can be the guy somewhere, and he's earned it. He's universally respected and liked and probably loved by his fellow teammates. But for those of us that cover the program, respected and liked and well thought of. Walk-on, scholarship player, starter, viable, plus player. I'm not going to tell you he'll be missed in the sense that Florida State has 15 running backs. I am going to tell you that kind of attitude, was a big part of the turnaround for Florida State, and he represents in large part that significant shift in daily work ethic and belief in what Mike Norvell was teaching. And obviously he was very, very, very productive on the field as well. I'll never overlook that. So we just want to wish him all the luck in the world. There are guys that leave this program and I go, never going to think about you again. I'll never think about Sam McCall again. I don't really care. TreyShaun, I'll think about years from now. I'll sit around and think, man, that kid, good for that kid, man. He was a part of a culture change, and he was really good on the football field and helped us win some damn games.
Where he goes, you're going to look at the box score. You'll search it out to see how he's doing. You'll take a look at his stats a few times next year. The thing I'd say is, there are shoes to fill. His style was different than Trey Benson. Trey's going to drive us nuts sometimes by being timid. TreyShaun was not that, and he was a difference in this bowl game. And he also improved his stock for where he could go by playing in that bowl game. If it was a bet, it was a good bet because he won that bet. And I hope he has all the success in the world. We will need somebody to fill his shoes, but this is a good sign for the program because as you get better, you're going to say goodbye to very talented players through the portal. It's just the nature of the beast now.
Yeah, they got a lot of options to fill in there, a lot of varieties of styles and size and everything else that come back to fill in those shoes. You're right. You're going to lose good players as you continue to stockpile good players within any segment group. Hour number 2 forthcoming. It is Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Whether you have neck pain, back pain, headaches, joint stiffness, if you're tired all the time and just don't feel right and don't feel like yourself, these are things that we can help with in our office. Take advantage of our online special offer. Make an appointment online so we can get you in right away. Come visit our website at fenchiro.com, FENNCHIRO.com, because your chiropractor loves you and there's nothing you can do about it.
If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, turn up the volume and listen to this. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a Hometown Hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, he will waive all lender fees for all Hometown Heroes. That's a $1,600 value right out of the gate. Also, if you decide to use their preferred title company for their closing, you'll be saving another $600. That's $2,200 in discounts right off the top. That's like 20 tanks of gas in your car. And today, more than ever, it's important to save as much money as you can, wherever you can. So if you or someone you know is active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher and looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young, Legendary Home Loans, and ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
Sleep Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-626-5252. That's 800-626-5252. 800-626-5252.
The Gators are here.
Punched it with the right hand. Powered up. Goes out quarter right. 3 on the way. Good, good, good. Shoots off the glass and in. Foul on the play.
This is Gator Country.
Goes for the tuck. Blocked from behind by Fudge. Angle right 3. Bang, got it. That'll do it. A W for the Gators.
This is Florida basketball on the Gators Sports Network.
Brought to you by Sellers. Get the Sellers Advantage. Capital Circle Northeast online at sellerstile.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. And away we go. Continuing on, another reminder as we get started here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Today's show recorded a little bit earlier in the morning. Not live is the point, but be back with you live tomorrow as I was, planning to be at my son's medical procedure today. Nothing serious. Don't want to make it sound like it is. It's a minor medical procedure that he needs to have, but it happens to be smack dab in the middle of the afternoon, right when I would be on the air. So Tom and I recording this morning. Got that out of the way for FCC purposes, and onward we move. Mike Norvell is in a position now that he's probably waited his whole life to be in. And that is that I am the head coach at a Power 5 institution that has national championship pedigree, that has the wherewithal to win national championships. It is placed regionally in a way that is unique compared to other institutions, meaning you can get great players here because of where Florida State resides. Are there better locales? Yeah, for fans to get in and out of, meaning the city, and two. But in terms of recruiting, you are smack dab in a perfect spot in a talent-rich region of the country, of which there are a surplus of players. And for that reason, when you win games, this becomes a top 5 job. When you consider other factors, whether it's facilities, history, overall money, you might move Florida State down a little bit. You might have them just as a top 10 program to coach at, maybe a top 15 program. When they're winning and when they have an investment from the university, and when there is the positive momentum that Florida State has currently, there aren't too many places you could name that you would rather be to be a head coach. So, after a lot of hard work and now success on the field at a program like this, Mike finds himself in a position, I think for the first time in his career, to have kind of the pick of the litter when making a coaching hire. Now, sure, some guys are in existing positions in which they're well thought of and making lots of money at a program that is winning at a higher clip than Florida State is, and they wouldn't think of leaving that particular program. That's true. That's always going to be the case. There are other great jobs out there. But for the rest, wherever it is they're at, Mike Norvell calls and says, you want to be my defensive backs coach? They're listening. And that would, I think, probably include upwards of 95% of the jobs in America at that position, right? I mean, Mike is in a good position because you can bet, and I am not quoting anybody on this, and I'm not telling you that I have inside information on this, but you can bet there are a lot of guys whose agents are reaching out right now, letting it be known that even though they may have a job, they're interested in the one that is open in Tallahassee, that it doesn't need to get out there. And if it does, we'll deny it. But if you wanted to talk to my guy, he'd be open to your advances. So I do think that's a cool position to be in. We would all love that. We would all love to be in a position of, hey, listen, you're now head of an operation that has gained real momentum, is successful, is building towards something that is going to be even more successful. And, hey, you have an opportunity to improve that organization to help expedite the process. Who do you want to get? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure who I want to get. Kind of a list of about 2 or 3 guys that I've always really thought highly of that might fit in this situation. Your agent says, well, how about that list be 25 guys, because I'm fielding calls every hour of very highly qualified individuals that you may want to take a look at. Let's broaden our horizons, Jeff. Let's broaden our horizons, Tom. And in this case, let's broaden our horizons, Mike. You've got more options than you had this time last year. Last year, you had no options. This year, you have almost all of them. What a cool moment. That's what success brings. That's what success brings. So you can bet Mike is reveling in this.
Yeah, he should be. And look, if you are even, let's just say, at a higher position at a group of 5 level, let's say you're a defensive coordinator and not a defensive backs coach, this is a place you'd come to be a position coach in order to make the big leap forward. Think about Tony Tokars and his story, which is he was offered better positions at higher pay, in the short term would be much more beneficial to him. And he said no to it. And he came for an off-the-field role with Mike Norvell, and it ended up paying off with a quarterbacks coach job in this offense, and now a better reputation, more money, and in the long run, it's going to serve his career better. He took a step back in order to gamble on a guy that he believed in to take a bigger leap forward as a coach in his career. I think that's instructive here. It might not just be that you go get a defensive backs coach from another place. Could be a high school head coach, could be a defensive coordinator at the college level. I don't know. I would feel like the candidate pool would be far and wide. And what gets cool here is when you have success at this level and now you are a stable place and you've got a reputation for advancing not just players to the next level, but coaches to the next phase of their career, you can create redundancy on your staff. Here is where I will open that discussion with me. Usually I'm the conservative guy. You could hire your next defensive coordinator with this move. You could. You could find somebody with the pedigree that could grow into that position. You should be doing that at all times anyway. But honestly, on offense, Mike Norvell created a pipeline of guys that could become OCs in the future. Alex Atkins elevated when Kenny Dillingham is gone. You could see Tony Tokars maybe in 3 to 4 years being elevated into that role. Chris Thompson, the redundancy of being kind of the skipper of the ship behind the scenes because Coach Mike Norvell. You see all of the things that he's putting together over there. That makes sense. On defense, where is the other defensive coordinator? Would you really feel great if Randy Shannon took over as the defensive coordinator?
No, not at all.
No. All right. Odell Hagens is going to be a position coach until he retires. He's been a great interim head coach for Florida State. John Papuchis, special teams coordinator. You like him as a position coach. Where is that next guy? Where's the Alex Atkins on defense? Where is that guy that if you lose your coordinator, you elevate him up the ranks? You could get that guy with this hire. So I'm feeling greedy about it. It's not just about developing defensive backs. I want redundancy, and in case there needs to be a move made for whatever reason, over the next 2 or 3 years, you got a stone-cold recruiter who can also coordinate the big picture.
Well, it gets really interesting because you got to talk about it in terms of what's possible right now and what you're looking at in the future, like you said. I mean, I could foresee a dream scenario. I think you know where I'm going here. I could foresee a dream scenario in which you hire a new defensive coordinator right now and then find your other defensive backs coach all in one fell swoop. I'm not saying he will do that or even that he should. But when you have an opportunity, let's say, and maybe it's a greater opportunity than you realize, to bring on rising stars in the coaching world, they've made themselves available to you because of circumstance. Maybe things worked out in a way you could have never envisioned. And now that person is available to you. You do have to ponder whether or not you make an aggressive move this offseason to upgrade your coaching staff. And it's interesting because I don't know how that's going to play out. None of us do. I don't know who he's looking at, and I don't know how many changes he wants to make. We know he wanted to make this change because it's already happened. Woodson's leaving. And Woodson had another year left on his contract. People had this misnomer out there that he didn't know he could have come back. It didn't happen. I'm curious how he goes about the process. I mean, the coaches' convention, Tom, is what, this weekend? This one or next? I can't remember.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always right after the bowl season.
Yeah.
And they've got to wait till after the playoff now, so I'd imagine it's next week. Yeah.
But, I mean, it's going to be before the signing period in February. So they're going to have that. So the point would be he's going to have access, like direct access, as in I'm looking at you talking to you, to these coaches, programs all over the country. And this is a swap meet, man. These coaches conventions, I mean, it's where you go to get hired and where you get your card in somebody's hands and, all this stuff happens. It's like, who knows what kind of interest he's peaked, right? I mean, now that there's stability.
Oh, look, I wouldn't be stunned if somebody that we've heard of, and this is not, again, it sounds like inside info. It's not. But I wouldn't be stunned if somebody we heard of over the years of watching college football reaches out and says, hey, if you need a new defensive coordinator, I'm your guy. Because you want to be on the boat.
You want to be on the ship, man.
To the private island. And that's what it feels like Florida State is doing right now. They're not going to that place where they get to the port and they mix with all the other cruise boats. You want to go to the private island. You want some time on your own. Florida State appears to be going in that direction. But I've got it would have to be a home run of home runs to make a move like that.
Yes.
You aspire to this. We all aspire to that. But I'm just saying you have a primary goal here for your hire. The primary goal is that they've got to be better in high school than we are as a staff, largely speaking. You've got to have somebody with ties to this footprint, and you've got to have somebody who can close the deal with high school recruits better than most of our staff can do. That would be number one. Number two, my secondary goal is I would love to find my defensive coordinator of the future with this move. And Mike Norvell thinks in those terms. He's always looking at not what you are right now, but what you can be. And he has a really good track record of finding those guys. Even if you never heard of them before, by the time they leave, you realize whatever institution he's at, you go, man, that guy was good. Good job, Mike.
Well, and it's interesting. We could get grandiose because, look, man, this is sports talk radio. I mean, we're not – it can get where you really are sensitive to other people's feelings. I don't mean you and me worried about listeners' feelings per se, but, I mean, we are talking about somebody in a city in which the people live that work over there, and I understand that if you start to project over somebody who has a job that, in essence, you're calling for their firing, And, could Adam Fuller be replaced in a way that would be satisfactory to all involved? Yeah, if you got a big name, if you got a guy, if Jim Leonard, we'll just say it, decided to be the next defensive coordinator at Florida State, and that was the move that he wanted to make, well, I'm asking you, what do you do if you're Mike Norvell? Right now, you're going to this coaches convention, and you're thinking, I've got to replace my defensive backs coach. Well, he's probably thought of that for weeks on end. I mean, he didn't just decide this week I'm firing Woodson or getting Woodson another job. This has been percolating for a while. So he's probably got a pretty good idea of 3 or 4 guys that he thinks fits that role. He might not know that he has other opportunities. What if you got to this thing and all of a sudden that opportunity presented itself, Tom? Things have changed, man. Circumstances have changed. You have to take a step back at that point and really think long and hard about what you would do if given the opportunity in the moment to make a radical shift on your staff and replace 2 or 3 guys, all with pretty much great certainty that they're going to be upgrades and more successful in a variety of ways. You would maybe have to consider going ahead and pulling the trigger and let's expedite the process.
Yeah.
Unless you completely disagree with me, and you might, if you're Mike, you might think, why would I get rid of Adam Fuller? Statistically speaking, Florida State had a very good year. Nobody's going to argue that he doesn't know football. I wouldn't argue that either. He does know football. He knows the X's and O's exceptionally well. Mike would maybe argue behind closed doors, never publicly, Jeff, my defensive coordinator, was hamstrung by my defensive backs coach. And that's why I got rid of my defensive backs coach. I'm not firing my defensive coordinator who had to coach with one arm tied behind his back because my defensive backs coach was failing him. That may be a fair argument. I don't know. There are a lot of things that we'll never know as to what goes into this decision because that's not going to become public knowledge, and Mike ain't going to discuss it with us. So I don't know how he feels about the situation, but it is fun as fans and as people who could look at this situation and say, there's some big names out there. You just got done saying that you wouldn't be surprised at all if there were named defensive coordinators who were kind of letting it be known, hey, I don't know how you feel about your current DC, but hey, I might be available. Well, okay.
Yeah, I'm saying as a general rule, when Florida State's good, people you've heard of want to work there. I'm not saying that specifically in this case I know of a name. I just want to make that clear.
No. Yeah,
Florida State kicks ass. People you've heard of want to go work for them, and they want to be here, and they want to be a part of this program. And you want to get in on the ground floor, for not just because perhaps it starts a clock for you personally, but if you're in on the ground floor of an operation that's taking off, you get more credit for that versus joining something that's completely established. Like, for example, Bill O'Brien, right, out of Alabama, is the next in line of 5 or 6 different OCs they've had. I mean, is he getting credit for revolutionizing what Alabama's doing offensively? No way. That thing's a machine. Like, Lane Kiffin might get more credit because they changed the way they operated.
Sark might get more credit over there at Alabama when he was at Alabama.
Right. If your job is to come into a program that's established like a Georgia and become its defensive coordinator, Alabama become its offensive coordinator, you're there for maintenance. You're not there for evolution. But that's the opportunity that's here at Florida State is you got a chance. Alex Atkins would be foolish, in my opinion, to leave for a mediocre head coaching job. And by that, I mean mid-level group of 5. You're only going to get more and more credit for what this thing's doing, my man, as it goes on. And next year, that offense is going to be elite. So your star is only going to be more on the rise if you're at Florida State and attached to this university as it's on the way up. So I think that's why this would be attractive to people we've heard of and people who are currently employed, I'm sure, that are in pretty good situations. This could get fun real fast. But I would say, as it pertains to going to a coaches convention, there's a difference between being prepared for the possibility, which I'm sure that Mike Norvell is, and willing it to be, which is what you, I think, are on the side of the spectrum for. There's a difference between being prepared to listen, being prepared, but then also showing up there wanting to get something done. I think
I'm not saying. Yeah, they are very different, and I'm not saying Mike's beliefs are my beliefs or that he holds my beliefs. I mean, I would be entering that coaches convention with a very different outlook, perhaps.
Yes, you would.
Yes, especially because there's a guy who's still not employed that is really good at what he does, and he is available. Who knows what his interest level is? It'd be fascinating. Now, that said, do I think it's going to happen? No, I'm not trying to give you all hints. Sometimes on the show, I try to provide little breadcrumbs. Sometimes on the show, I do kind of throw out scenarios that are going to happen or that I think are strong likelihoods. This isn't one of those. I do think it is fair to assess and say that Mike is in an enviable position. Probably the best. That my original point was that it's the best position he's ever been in as a head coach because he's guided a successful campaign at a talent-rich school and region with an historical championship caliber status. So the cachet of Florida State and the success that he's had here simultaneous now leads him into a very different pool of players and coaches. That's fair. And that's just the reality of a situation when you succeed here as opposed to succeeding at Memphis. You cap out at Memphis with a very different level of player and coach than you do at Florida State. And, you can't win a national championship at Memphis. You damn sure can and are expected to here. So you have to be operating with the mindset that this is different. I'm trying to win a national championship. Is my staff a national championship staff? And if it's not, am I in a position now to upgrade it at various positions in order for it to take a step in that direction? Well, the answer after a 10-3 season is you are. You've taken great strides in that direction. Doesn't mean that the right guy is available right now. Doesn't mean that you want to go over into a drastic overhaul. Doesn't mean you want to do any of those things just yet. Obviously, it means he wanted to make one change, and we speculated about that during the season correctly. I don't know about 2 or 3 changes. And who knows what other opportunities are out there for the guys that we're kind of making veiled references to. Randy Shannon has coached a lot of places and in a lot of different positions. He's been a head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator. He's been a linebackers coach. He's been a quarterbacks coach. He's been a lot of things, right? Randy may get a job offer somewhere. I don't know. He may get a job offer to make more money and have a greater title because of his experience and what some people would perceive as recruiting acumen. Well, now you got to replace your linebackers coach. That might be something you're thinking about going into this coaches convention. I don't know that. It's just going to be interesting. I just think that these next couple of weeks are going to be fascinating, really across the sport. They always are, but especially now that Florida State's in the big boy pool and swimming with the sharks now. Now it's fun again.
Look, is Coach Adam Fuller the next Nick Saban? No, he's not. But the things I'd say if I was arguing for retention of services and allowing for more time, couple-fold. His reputation, at least early on, and it's weird to have, people tell you about reputations. I mean, it's just you get older like you and you're around the beat long enough and people start talking to you. But his reputation in the transfer portal is really good.
Yeah, it is.
He does a good job in the portal, and if that's going to be one of the new hallmarks of the sport, you want a guy who understands how to grab people from the portal. Those players, in my mind, are more valuable because they're out of transfer locations to go freebie one-off departures, and then also their film is more reliable. And that's good for the culture across the board. So that's number one. Number two, I'd point to a specific example on Warchant TV from earlier this year in which Dominic Robinson did a study on the Wake Forest game, and you see like 8 instances, and they're all key moments in the game, where the scheme is putting defensive backs in position to make a play to either get off the field or come away with a play.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with the scheme. There is nothing wrong with the coaching. At some point, you've got to go make a play. So if I'm going to be the advocate, and there's been a lot of argumentation and debate today on different sides. If I'm arguing for Adam Fuller, I'd say that's either on the DB's coach or we got to get better players. But either way, the DB's coach is responsible for a little bit of both. Does that mean that the defensive coordinator is blameless? No. But if you're in position to make plays and you don't, come on, man. We're doing everything but spoon feeding the meal into their mouth of the players. So let's take that next step. And to me, that would be a lesson in caution. Give him one crack at this with better caliber of players and maybe a better position coach. And let's see if we magically believe that he's a good defensive coordinator after 12 more games of evidence, 12 plus games.
I am not advocating for the firing of Adam Fuller. I do not share a fairly significant portion of this fan base belief that Adam Fuller is incompetent or not good enough. I don't know how you want to phrase it, to the extremes or whatever it might be. Some people would just say, I don't think he's a championship level defensive coordinator. I don't know. I do not share that opinion necessarily. I was hard on one guy this year. I only publicly addressed one guy this year on the air, and that was the guy that is no longer here. I was for this move. I would have done it. Well, it doesn't matter. He's gone. That is a good thing. If Adam Fuller comes back, I got no problem with that. I've had lengthy discussions with Adam Fuller. I agree with you. I think he's a smart guy, really smart guy, knows football, and our players more often than not are put in a good position. You are correct when you assess that secondary as incapable in a lot of ways of being the difference makers in these football games. And either it's because they aren't talented enough, and I think there is a need for an upgrade in talent there, or they're not taught properly. And they certainly haven't really been able to master consistently a zone. So they're making a change. I'm happy with that. If they don't make any other changes, fine. I do believe down the line that you're going to probably move away from Randy Shannon, and I'll be okay with that.
That's age. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen this weekend. That'd be all right. And I do believe down the line that you may end up making more changes. But for now, yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. I mean, what had to happen just happened. So I see this as a big win, and I'm not clamoring for more. I just think we're in a different time, and we've just entered a different space. And it's a fascinating thing to be a part of and to cover. And these kinds of conversations between diehard fans of all programs are what makes sports talk radio fun. The bottom line is, I don't think there'll be radical moves, but what if he gets there and Jim Leonard says, I want to be your defensive coordinator, and the defensive backs coach that you wanted says yes, and now I get to kill two birds with one stone that I think I'm going to want to do down the line anyhow? Perhaps that's a mindset, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe Jim Leonard walks up to Mike Norvell and says, I'd come tomorrow. I want to be your DC. I like what you're doing. I see where that program's going. Sure, I want to be a head coach someday, but it can wait 3 years because I'm young and up and coming, and I know I'll get these opportunities. I like what Florida State's got going. Sign me up, coach. And Mike might go, no, I'm good. I like my defensive coordinator. He might. I don't know.
But what's irrefutable is the move in and of itself to replace the defensive backs coach has to catch the eye of anybody that's in the room.
Without question, buddy.
If we think we can get better, we're going to get better. And that's always a good thing, too.
That is a real good thing. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Back in a moment.
777-7777 for Basic Brooks.
In 1788, Robert Burns wrote a poem to herald the coming of the new year and set the lyrics to an old Scottish tune. The little song became quite popular among the Scots and the British as the words recalled the days gone by, bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new. Band leader Guy Lombardo is often credited with popularizing the use of the song at New Year's celebrations in America. Through his annual broadcasts on radio and television beginning in 1929, the song became his trademark. This New Year's Eve, millions will gather across the world in celebration and at the stroke of midnight join together in singing Auld Lang Syne. Wishing you all the best in the new year and reminding you to be safe and never drink and drive. From Wit and Class on South Monroe, call 222-5781. Mahan Animal Clinic on Mahan Drive, call 402-0557. And by Sellers on Capitol Circle Northeast, call 850-656-8453.
Choose Hearth and Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth and Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mandlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Hey, this is Greg Tish. Here's something you might know about me. I don't drink coffee. I have never had a cup of coffee in my life. Well, that is until now. So why change now? Well, it's because my dear friend at Grassroots Coffee reached out to me after hearing me say that and insisted that I give his product a try. I've been making a huge mistake. The world of coffee is fascinating. I always thought coffee is coffee, you know? No, it's not. I have tried their coffee and it is fantastic. Now, I've got a fascination with learning more about the best coffee in our area. Grassroots Coffee is locally roasted, locally owned, and locally loved. You can find whole bean Grassroots Coffee on the local aisle at Publix, also in Whole Foods, but the best way to get this black gold is to order it online. They literally grind the fresh roasted beans to your preferred level, bag it, write the date on it by hand so you know the exact day your coffee was roasted. It doesn't get any more fresh than that. Order yours now. Just go to grassrootscoffee.com and choose the coffee you want and how you want it, and join me. Let's step up our coffee game together and also support a great local business.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com.
Rolling on, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV on it's already a Ballsmick Wednesday? Weird week, man. Weird week. I know that you're going out of town, buddy, and you're going to have a good time, but I do want to note for everybody, and nobody else cares, the tour starts back up this weekend, buddy. It's out there in Hawaii, right? The tournament, this is that time of year. It's that we sit down and on Golf Channel, you see the beautiful scenery. Hawaii, you think you'd love to play that course? You're going to be playing a lot of golf, yeah.
We're back up with the golf. This was a football season in which I made a point to get out there and not completely lose touch with the game. But December, the holidays, the hard freeze, the bowl game, New Year's, it's been a minute. Looking forward to get back out there. Let me brag on my wife for just a minute because she's doing something that is very difficult this weekend.
She's running for days.
Literally, 4 of them. It is the Dopey Challenge at Disney. So it's a 5K followed by a 10K followed by a half marathon followed by a full marathon, consecutive days. That's ridiculous. I will not be participating in that.
No,
but I'm very proud of the accomplishment because that just seems like impossible. But it is apparently. A lot of people do it. She's going to be one of them. But yeah, so I'll be down there doing the support thing at that point. And the best part of it is, sir, when the day winds down, there is golf on the television because primetime golf plays. I look forward to watching the primetime golf.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to watch it too, and I'm really going to enjoy it. I'm going to gamble on it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then the next week, there's another tournament. I'm going to gamble on that one too. It's going to be a good time because that's my cup of tea. I'm going to roll in there.
I like this one. This one's fun. There's something about specifically the 18th hole as you go down the hill. It's like a 600-yard par 5, and it's just everything is before you in that final shot of the tournament. And Justin Thomas has had some horrible moments down there. He's won this tournament I know Morikawa had a bad moment a few years ago where his dad is hovering over him, as always. But then I kind of fall asleep to golf for a few weeks. When they get to Riviera out in LA for Tigers tournament, that's when it comes back on, and that's about the Florida swing, which is always a ton of fun too. So
yeah, this is the Century Tournament of Champions, and so the field is always loaded because it's last year's winners, and it's the Plantation Course there at Kapalua, which is absolutely stunning. And even if you don't like golf, I would argue that just tuning that in on a big screen television in high definition, you're going to see. It's just gorgeous. It's peaceful to have in the background if you're doing stuff.
The craziest thing, though, is one of the most iconic places in the world to play golf is annually one of the worst tournaments in golf, which is in Pebble with the Pro-Am.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is always, because they play 3 different courses during the week, so it's impossible to follow the field. But how is it that a tournament that surrounds Pebble Beach is the worst? It's hardly watchable. They got Clint Eastwood talking for an hour with nonsense on Sundays. It's always the worst.
Well, it is a shame because as somebody who has been there and stood on that tee box on number 1 and also stood on the back of the 18th green and shared a scotch with my father, it is absolutely breathtaking. And you're right. It should never be second fiddle to any event. I will say that tour players talk about Riviera as arguably the best course on the entire tour.
Yeah.
It's a unique golf course and an interesting golf course for a lot of reasons, and it's a storied history. But Pebble is breathtaking, and when they have the U.S. Open at Pebble, it's unreal. You won't find a better venue for the U.S. Open than Pebble.
Be there every year. You know what? You could alternate between. Just go to Pebble and Bethpage and just alternate it. East Coast, West Coast. That's perfect.
Well, the Congressional's a great course. There are a lot of different courses I like to see them rotate on, but I understand what you're saying.
Did you hear that our guy is no longer a part of broadcasting and golf on television?
Who? What?
Gary Koch. He's done.
He said peace?
NBC said peace. NBC said no mas. So no more on NBC are you going to see, well, they've missed it all day to the right, Ron. Yeah.
Well,
There it is. We missed
Gary,
it.
we're tired of you having advanced knowledge of what's about to happen, pretending to the world that you didn't just see it 45 seconds ago, like somehow you're Nostradamus up in here.
And he's pissed. He's pissed. Like the guys at CBS a few years ago when they were like McCord and Peter Costas, because they told him they wanted to get younger. He's 71. They hired Brad Faxon. Brad Faxon's in his 60s.
Yeah. Considerably younger. Maybe they mean in spirit as well. I mean, I would tell you Brad maybe in his 60s, but he acts like he's in his 40s, and he does. I mean, he's never been he's not an electrifying announcer to say the least.
No.
But he does still play the game, and he coaches a lot of players in the realm of putting. He's a putting guru. I'll tell you something about this. It's funny. Whenever you talk about getting in the weeds, whenever you have an expert, whenever there's a putting expert on your show or being interviewed on TV, you have to really love golf to sit into that interview, buddy. You have to really. Now, listen, you and I will sit and watch that and listen intently about things we could be doing to help on the greens. But, buddy, that's asking a lot of an audience.
Oh, look, man. I spent a lot of time this past year in my own personal game with the putter, and it's gone to places it hasn't been in 5-6 years. I'm in a great place putting the golf ball. But Brad Faxon should not be in the booth every week on television. I mean, you combine that with Azinger now in the main booth. I mean, good God.
Yeah, they're butchering this.
No, Brad Faxon should be the mascot for the Valspar because listening to him is literally paint drying.
Yeah.
He should not be a guy in the booth. And that means he's going to get 17 at TPC? Jesus.
Yeah.
Why is it that we always have to have old dudes like this from the Ryder Cup in 1991, or we have one of the Immelmans? Isn't there anybody else out there?
Well, no. Hopefully there's another Immelman, Tom. No. By the way, the Immelmans that are on podcasts are infinitely more interesting than the Immelmans that do the TV. If you listen to Trevor Immelman in a podcast, he's fantastic. I mean, because he'll say things. He says things like, oh, you should say that on the broadcast. That's interesting. He doesn't do that on the broadcast. Like, Immelman is a Johnny Miller light on a podcast. He'll tell you somebody's swing sucks. He'll tell you somebody's emotional makeup isn't fit for majors. He'll tell you that putting stroke will never win under pressure. He'll tell you like things that you want to hear that Johnny Miller would tell you every week. I mean, that kind of, he will do it in a podcast. He will not do it on the air.
That's where if our guy Brandel could put down the live golf argument for a minute, he'd be great in a tower. They'd never let him do it.
They won't let him do it, and he is great. He great.
Would rip people to shreds. He would rip people to shreds on the broadcast, which is what you want.
Well, but he would do it, I think. Now, listen, is he erudite and difficult at times? Yes. I don't care. I think he's great. I think he's the best announcer in the sport. I don't think it's close because he will say things that matter. He will tell you based on a lot of research and hard evidence, not just willy-nilly. He is going to give you a fact to back it up. It's not going to be like, well, I just feel that way. It's going to be like, no, I watched 47 hours of film before I posited this.
I'll tell you what he would do, and folks, I mean, way to ride with us during this segment because we clearly have a passion for golf broadcasting in a way that's unhealthy. But he would also be the worst thing for television in a major because they, he just made a double bogey. He can't win. Statistically, that's 1 in 1,000. So he's done. Let's stop cutting to him, guys. He can't win the major.
I don't care if he birdies the next 5. There's never been a player in the history of the game. Yeah. You're right. It would be fun. Sorry, that is a little behind the curtain there, guys. This was more about broadcasting in general. Listen, and no one person is everybody's cup of tea. I get that. I mean, that's the nature of the beast in the world of broadcasting.
Whose cup of tea is Brad Faxon? I can't believe I'm arguing that with Gary Koch. I should be celebrating. I'm like, what? Jesus.
Somewhere Gary's furious. Is Gary the one that lives in Hawaii?
No, that's Mark Rolfing. Mark is awesome.
Boy, because Mark will tell you about it.
Yeah,
Mark will tell you about, those trade wins. I
believe that the 16th green this year, Kapalua, is mowed in a pattern that looks like Mark Rolfing's face from the Goodyear blimp. Yeah.
Now, guys, if you look here, if you're at my house, you'd see that this is where the coconut tree. Yeah,
this is his tournament, and they're going to say something ridiculous on Golf Channel like, nobody's more Hawaiian than Mark Rolfing.
Well, yeah. Well, guys, I have lived here for the last 7 years, and I do feel like a local. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hey, fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Hey, what's happening, Jeff?
It is always good to see you, Eddie. Had a long day, my man. I was thinking about it. Gordo's was the place to ease the pain, You're frustrated with your job. You're aggravated. Life's beating you down. Maybe your wife's speaking. Gotta get out the door.
You know what? Here at Gordo's, man, we welcome everybody. Disgruntled wives, disgruntled husbands, kids running away from home. We'll even give that kid a job. Send them our way.
Go make some money and eat delicious food at Gordo's. It's perfect.
And have a damn good time doing it.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Greg Tish here along with
Matty Rowe.
And you can listen to us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Matt, we give away a couple things each week.
Just a few.
We got the Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Wheel of Food. We have Give Me a Second, where we play a second of a song and you guess that song. And we also play FLA or Nay. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on
The Greg Tish Show.
Think that's enough?
We can talk about our feelings.
No, that's a lot.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Wrapping it up, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Been fun today. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. Tom's going to be out of town golfing. bastard. And I'm going to be here doing a show for you. It's okay. Love my job. Not that I'd rather be golfing with my dear friend over the course of 3 days on several different courses. No, it's okay. I'm here. It's going to be all right. We'll get an opportunity when you come back to town to golf, Tom. I'm sure it'll be riveting. It'll be exciting for you after having gone to 3 different courses in 3 days.
Yeah, I'm not going to, tell you about every hole of the different courses that I played, but I am very excited to be playing Lake Buena Vista over the course of the 3 days. It's a really cool course in Orlando, and it has a little bit of the Disney feel, just enough. Like, it's just enough to where you're like, oh, that's really cool. That's a nice backdrop. That's a nice eye line. And then you just continue to play golf. But yeah.
I'll tell you what I do want to do here real soon, and it's been difficult because obviously we just ignored the fact that Florida State played basketball over the weekend against Duke and got trounced. I mean, it's pretty amazing how far off a cliff this has fallen. And this segment brought to you by our friends at Tallulah. And I would note about Tallulah, they are now in Thomasville. If you're listening in Thomasville, Georgia, swing on over. They've got a store right by you. They also have a Kava bar now open in the Bannerman Crossing area. They are also, it's a second location in Bannerman Crossings, in fact. And lots of Kratom drinks, Kava drinks, all that good stuff. They have a Midtown location in the former Soto space where they have a wide vape selection. If that's your cup of tea, can't miss the new sign right there. Also, still selling the CBD for pets and for people. You got sore joints, bad back, all that stuff. Run some CBD on it. Helps with arthritis and joints and all that good stuff. And also they have roll-ons for that, by the way, which I think are effective. And, of course, as always, any of your Tallulahs have the Delta 8, Delta 9, and the drinks that go with. So wide selection, wide swath. I mentioned basketball because, Tom, we just played and got trounced, and you knew that was going to happen, and nobody was shocked by that. We only had – in that game, one thing stands out to me, 3 scoring threats, Matthew Cleveland, Caleb Mills, and Darren Green Jr., and Duke always had on the court at any given time 5 scoring threats in their lineup. And so, I don't know, I watched, by the way, for 10, 15 minutes of the first half, knowing it was a foregone conclusion. We did keep it within a 2-possession game for much of that first half, but I think we wore down, and you're seeing evidence that this team doesn't have the depth that it had in the past. And also Duke's doing something different. They are rotating more players than Coach K ever did. So you're seeing a coaching philosophy shift at Duke. And at the end of the day, that's where we're at. So final stats were ugly. Bench points, all that good stuff, not good. The women continue to be dominant in the world of basketball. They won that 78-71 road game against North Carolina, which we never mentioned. They followed that up with a 99-58 rout of Georgia Tech in Atlanta on New Year's Day. They are now 14-2, Tom, and 3-0. They have a freshman star in Tania Latson. And if anybody has that's a know out there that hasn't seen her, go watch her, because she's a freak, probably, arguably, the most talented women's basketball player the program has ever had. She's that good.
Yeah, and the group still couldn't get ranked. So we'll see if that changes. I would assume it would change in short order. On the men's side of things, it's Georgia Tech this weekend. That's always a problem matchup, but it's at least here. It's at least here. Well, look, I'm looking at the next 2 games. You got Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. I mean, there you go. You win both of those, you're squarely over 500 in the conference, and you're putting yourself in position because Wednesday night, I believe, is Baba Miller night, and that would be nice to get him back in the fold. You're hosting Virginia 2 Saturdays from now. That ain't going to work out. But I'm just talking about the gear up and the lead up process to Tuesday night, January 24th, here in Tallahassee, 7 p.m. And it's Miami. It's Coaches versus Cancer night.
Platinum Bohica on the line, baby.
Platinum Bohica night. Platinum Bohica night. This is all building up to that, and I look forward to the opportunity of making that mark on the season while also being competitive in ACC play. It's not like this conference is comprised of world beaters.
Nope.
You could still find a way, I think, cobble a way to be around 500 in the conference when that slate is over. Certainly not for the overall record, but I think ACC record, you got a shot at it, especially if you make hay in the next 2 games.
If we were a little racier show, I would say Platinum Bohica night is Wednesdays. And you could be like, honey, I'm home. But we're talking about in the basketball sense, guys. The basketball sense, 10 straight wins against any opponent constitutes a platinum Bohica, and Florida State is on the cusp of achieving this rather elusive goal. I would love for it to happen. As Tub Talk goes, it's going to be strange as we tell you to go out to Pinch a Penny and make sure you get yourself a new hot tub to relax and enjoy the new year. If you want to play the cue, go ahead, because I like the sound of it.
It's time for Tub Talk, brought to you by Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Buy yourself the hot tub you've always wanted at the price you've always wanted from Pinch a Penny on Greer Street. Now, it's live to the tub.
I could use a new hot tub. I hope me and Pinch a Penny are building a very solid foundation, at which point that we could see this. We're relaxing. This is nice. We're just sitting in the tub. Two parts in the remaining 2 minutes that we have here of Tub Talk. The first, in all of the sadness with the Damar Hamlin situation, there is something cool that has happened. And this is people helping people yet again. When prompted, people do respond overwhelmingly so to the good. And that is that they are showing support for Bill's safety. Damar Hamlin, obviously we know about the cardiac arrest, and we're still holding our breath, and I hope this isn't dated at the time that you hear it. But they are donating to the foundation's toy drive that he set up. They had a goal initially of $2,500 for his fundraiser on GoFundMe in order to get toys for kids, something we're very familiar with here in Tallahassee and that you guys have done such a good job. I could give you a further backstory here, but obviously they wanted to raise money to buy toys for children who were impacted most by COVID-19 and in his hometown in Rocks, PA, in McReese, Rocks, PA. Tom, they have now been able to amass over $6 million. It's awesome. Just awesome.
Well,
nothing more to add to that. That's just what that is.
People can be really, really good. And, there is a precursor in this particular franchise, Buffalo, the Bills Mafia. Was it Flacco that led a game-winning drive late in the game against Cincinnati, or was it Dalton against Baltimore? One way or the other. They ended up donating to the other quarterback's charity in Groves. And we thought, wow, that's really cool, kind of crowdsourcing. We didn't know what GoFundMe would become.
It was Bill's Mafia that donated to Andy Dalton's charity, I do believe.
Bill's Mafia for sure. Yeah, I knew it was that franchise's fan base.
Mm-hmm.
But that's now something that's more of the norm. And at that point, it was novel. It's something that's more of the norm. And let's just hope that we can see what it means to Damar.
I hope so. I hope so. And I hope by the time you're hearing this, we've already got better news. I don't know that will be the case. But, Tom, safe travels to you. Good luck to your lovely wife. Doctor, run like the wind blows if you're listening. And, hey, I will see you soon, partner. Be well. Enjoy the golf. And, guys, I'll be back with you tomorrow in some shape, form, or fashion. So there'll be more content tomorrow. Be good. Take care.